Curious about lip filler? Whether you want a subtle pout or bold plump, Juvederm lip fillers can give you a customized lip look. Juvederm Volbella XC and Juvederm Ultra XC can last up to a full year with optimal treatment, giving your lips added volume for smooth, natural-looking, and long-lasting results. Whether you're concerned about your thin lips or simply want fuller lips, ask about Juvederm lip fillers at your next appointment with your licensed specialist. And download the Ally app, that's ALLE, the official loyalty program of Juvederm, to save on treatments. For important safety information and to find a licensed specialist, visit Juvederm.com. That's JUVEDERM.com. Not for people with severe allergic reactions, allergies to lidocaine, or the proteins used in Juvederm. Common side effects include injection site redness, swelling, pain, tenderness, firmness, lumps, bumps, bruising, discoloration, or itching. There's a risk of unintentional injection into a blood vessel, which can cause vision abnormalities, blindness, stroke, temporary scabs, or scarring. Talk to a licensed specialist to find out if it's right for you.
Persol and Verilux are teaming up for the ideal eyewear fit. Combining timeless design with progressive lenses, iconic style meets unparalleled vision performance, making the extraordinary effortless. Discover Verilux and Persol and find your local Essilor expert at Essilor.com.
Remember the days when action figures ruled our imaginations and epic battles between good and evil played out in our own living rooms? Step into 1987 when a beloved toy line and animated series leaped onto the big screen in a live-action spectacle. In this 80s flick, an intergalactic battle spills from the fantastical world of Eternia into our own. Marketed as the Star Wars of the 80s, it didn't quite live up to the hype. But today it is remembered as a cult classic that brought our favorite toy characters to life in a whole new way. So jump through the travel portal, grab the power sword, and shout, "I have the power!" as Chris Adams, Gerry D, Laramy Wells, and I discuss Masters of the Universe from 1987 on this episode of the 80s Flick Flashback Podcast.
A battle fought in the stars now comes to Earth.
Police! Somebody move! I think I'm gonna need some backup.
A battle for the power.
Kneel before your master!
To be masters of the universe. Dolph Lundgren is He-Man. Frank Langella is Skeletor.
Let this be our final battle!
Masters of the Universe. Rated PG.
I'm Tim Williams, the mastermind behind the mic at the 80s Flick Flashback Podcast. Joining me on each epic episode is a guest co-host who's as crazy about 80s flicks as they are about wearing parachute pants and solving Rubik's Cubes. We're diving into nostalgic treasures we saw at the local theater, rented on VHS tapes, or discovered on cable TV. From blockbusters that make you say,
I feel the need for speed,
to hidden gems that'll have you screaming,
"They're here!"
It's a blast to relive these old memories and share our thoughts on what made these movies so special. We reminisce about our first-time watch experiences, share our favorite scenes, and even discover fascinating behind-the-scenes tales about the cast and crew along the way. Haven't hit that subscribe button yet? What are you waiting for?
Come on, do it!
On Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcast platform. And hey, while you're at it, be a pal and drop us a written review along with a 5-star rating to tell us what you think about us.
The sportos, motorheads, geeks, sluts, bloods, wastoids, dweebies, they all adore him. They think he's a righteous dude.
Take a day off and come hang out with us on social media. Just search 80s Flick Flashback on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. And don't forget to bookmark 80sflickflashback.com for more gnarly content.
Get out of town. I didn't know you did anything creative.
Want to crank it all the way up to 11? Become a supporter on buymeacoffee.com for only $5 a month.
Do or do not. There is no try.
Click the link in our episode show notes, and while you're there, soak up the extra trivia and fun stuff that didn't make it into today's show. Thanks again for tuning in. Now, let's get right into today's episode.
Welcome to the party, pal.
All right, welcome in, everybody. So glad to have you for this episode of the 80s Flick Flashback Podcast. We are in our action-packed August, where we're covering all action movies all month long, and we could not leave out this sometimes forgotten classic, Masters of the Universe, with somewhat 80s action star Dolph Lundgren. It was too good not to put in there. So I've got a great group of co-hosts joining me for this episode, including the Master of the Universe guru himself, Mr. Gerry D from Totally Rad Christmas. How you doing, Gerry?
What's going on, Tim? That's a lot of praise. I don't know if I deserve it, but I'm good. I'm ready. Let's go to Eternia and then come back here to Earth for a long period of time before we quickly go back to Eternia. So yes. I'm ready. Let's do this.
Gotcha. And then from Retro Life for You podcast, Mr. Chris Adams. How you doing, Chris?
Doing good. How are you doing today?
I am good. And then from Moving Panels podcast, it's Laramy Wells. What's up, Laramy?
I am great. I must possess all, or I possess nothing.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. That line stuck out to me for sure.
So existential.
Yes.
Yeah. Skeletor getting deep with that one.
Oh, yeah. I love Frank Langella in this movie. He's so Shakespearean and over the top, and
he's hamming it up big time.
Yeah. There are bite marks in the scenery from where he was chewing it. I mean, but at the same time, he's such a good actor that it works. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So,
he's too good of an actor for this movie.
For this movie, yeah. Oh yeah, 1,000,000%.
After he said that line, I wanted him to run away. And until next time.
Right.
That's
I was just thinking that. I swear.
I know. Yeah. Oh,
until we meet again.
Right. I'm glad he didn't have that little squealy voice like in the cartoon, though.
Nowadays, I can appreciate that. As a kid, that bugged me. Like there's a lot of stuff that bugged me.
A lot of this that bugs you if you're a He-Man fan.
Yeah.
It's like, well, I mean, we'll get into it, but it's just I remember my first impression was like, Where's Orko? Where's Cringer? How come Man-at-Arms isn't green and yellow like in his armor? I mean, it was just like list after list. Why is Skeletor's skull white instead of yellow? Where's his purple outfit? I mean, like I was just going through everything. Like I've seen He-Man a bazillion times. This is not He-Man. What are you guys doing? So now, of course, like Frank Langella was right. He needed to keep his own voice. So, we didn't need Alan Oppenheimer voice up in this place. So.
All right, well, since we're right there, Gerry, I'll let you start. So when did you see Masters of the Universe for the very first time? Was this a theater experience for you?
Theater, yeah. In the theaters. I was a huge He-Man fan. I still have. Well, I am. I still have to this day, like my old records, like the kids stuff records.
I remember those.
My Castle Grayskull is like right here with me. This is my original Castle Grayskull, and my toys are in a box over in the corner. I have like all of the encyclopedias and everything. I mean, there's like books and books and books of He-Man. I love He-Man. It was like just one of my favorite properties. Of course, G.I. Joe and Transformers were others, but something about He-Man and the fact that he was going around yelling, "I have the power," was like I was all in on He-Man. So when they said they were making a movie, I was like, Dad, you have to take me to He-Man. And I'm not asking, like, you taking me to He-Man. So we went, and it was one of those movies where you try to convince yourself that it's good and that you liked it at the time. Like now, I revisited it like 20 years ago, and now I watch it like 2 or 3 times a year. But like at the time, I was like, well, He-Man was cool. I liked He-Man, and Skeletor was good. I mean, I guess he was still good. I mean, just trying to like rationalize to myself why I should like this movie, being such a He-Man fan. And I remember being very disappointed. Just no Orko. Just all my favorites were gone. Beastman doesn't talk. Like, why did they use Sorad instead of Merman, and Blade instead of Triclops, and just all these easy things that they could have done to make it better. And then, of course, later on, when I was older and I learned about all the studio stuff, it made sense.
Right.
There's like a whole rights issues and things like that. But at the same time, as a kid, you don't know anything about that. So yeah, this was a theater experience for me, and it was kind of a letdown when I saw it in the theater.
Gotcha. What about you, Chris? First time experience?
Definitely a movie theater. At that point, at that age, I was like a theater rat. I was in and out during the summers. I'd get dropped off to theater like my mom would work downtown in Nashville, and there was a theater about 15 minutes from where she worked at. So she'd drop me off there. They had 14 screens. I'd watch like 2 or 3 different movies during the day.
Wow.
And then they had an arcade. And
Nice.
yes, I paid for all of them. Don't give me that look. All the arcade games I played anyway. I paid for the first movie, and then I might have slipped into 1 or 2 afterwards just to see the ends of them.
I mean, I think we all did, right?
Yeah, I did.
Right. But yeah,
Never.
I had to see this. You know, there was no getting away from watching it. You know,
Right.
what was I happy with it when I first saw it? I mean, like he just said, you got questions. Where's this? Where's that? Why are you looking like this? Where's Eternia, for crying out loud? Why are we on Earth? He-Man was not on Earth.
Right.
Yeah, that was my biggest, pet peeve. Was there was not really much of Eternia to enjoy on it. Little
Right.
Captain Grayskull time, and
All right, Laramy, what about you? First time experience?
You know I saw it on TV first. There's no question about that. I was 6 when this movie came out, so
Right.
I didn't see it in theaters. But no, I do remember seeing it on TV. It wasn't even like a premium channel. I saw it on basic cable. But yeah, no, and it was the same thing. I think the first time I saw it, I came in like midway through.
Okay.
And didn't know it was a He-Man movie to begin with.
Right.
I can understand that. Yeah.
Because I think I started it while they were battling, on the street right in front of the music store.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, I see Skeletor, but I just think, hey, it's Grim Reaper looking dude.
Right.
And then Dolph Lundgren over here looking like a, Temu version of Conan. So, yeah.
Wish.com's Conan.
Yeah. Wish.com.
Yeah.
So it wasn't until later. And then, yeah, like everybody else says, once I found out it was He-Man, I was like, how was that He-Man?
Yeah.
And is this little gremlin dude supposed to be Orko? Like, what's going on?
Right. Right.
Yeah. For me, like I saw this in the theater. And we've talked about it before. I knew about He-Man. I watched the cartoon, not, as much as other people, but I was very familiar with the toy line. I had friends that had it. So I knew a good bit about it, but I couldn't say that I was a big super fan. So when it came out, it wasn't one of the first movies I saw. I think by the time I saw it, it had been out for a while. It was at the military theater, I think, when I watched it. And I remember like the beginning, I was cool. I was like, okay, it looks a little cheaper than I expected, but once they got to Earth, I was like, what is, and why are they shooting guns with lasers? Is this Star Wars or is this G.I. Joe? Is this MASH? Like, did he ever have a gun in the cartoon or or the toys? So I was very confused, and I think I left saying it was okay, but it wasn't like, it wasn't the best movie ever. But it wasn't one that I really wanted to go back and watch again either anytime soon.
Yeah, as a kid, you felt thinking it was okay. I felt betrayed. I was like, how dare you release this and call this He-Man?
Right.
But it's an awesome movie nowadays.
Yeah.
Well, were you more disappointed there was no Eternia, or that you didn't see the transformation of He-Man?
Both.
From Prince Adam to
Yes.
He-Man.
Yeah.
I
I
mean,
think
both.
missing the Prince
Yeah.
Adam part was a big, like,
I
what's
think
going on?
that was the biggest one. Yeah. My son, I haven't shown it to my son before. He's 7 now, and I had to watch it again today. I was like, you know what? Let me just make sure I have everything down. So let's watch it again. And my son, we started it off, and he's like, he sees like the little He-Man in the distance, but he's got the cape. And of course, He-Man didn't really wear a cape in the show. So my son was saying, well, is that Prince Adam? Is he going to turn into He-Man? And I said, well, he's never Prince Adam in this version here. And his face, like the horror on his face, like, what do you mean he's not Prince Adam? Like, he just could not believe.
Yeah, it's like once it gets in like the middle of the movie, it almost becomes where like He-Man is a side character. Like, he's barely in his own movie. He's not the focal point of the movie, which is where it felt like it didn't seem like a real, a true He-Man movie. It was, of course, it was called Masters of the Universe. It wasn't called He-Man, but still, that's who you were paying to see. And so, the story just kind of got a little more convoluted. So I think we kind of all mentioned it. But how long has it been since you rewatched it? Gerry says he watches it every couple of times a year. Chris has watched it very recently, right?
Yeah, it's within the past couple of months, probably.
Yeah. Laramy?
Oh, it's been a long time. I couldn't even tell you how long. I own it. Like, again, it's a nostalgia thing.
Right.
But yeah, it's not one that I'm like jumping to go see or pull it out of the shelf.
I have a quick question because I know you're a huge Superman fan. Do you have that issue where Superman and He-Man are together?
I had yes.
Okay. Yeah.
There's several of them though, aren't there? Like,
but
I own
it's like a little series, but that first one
I do have I don't know if I have the first one, but I do have one of those. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah.
Very cool.
Classic.
Yeah, like I said, I think I watched it a couple of within the last year or last 2 years when I saw it was on one of the streaming channels. But I own it too. I bought like the Canon. There's like a Canon combo pack on DVD, and it's part of there. So I was like, well, I have it on DVD if I ever is never on streaming. But
I'm pretty sure my DVD is still in the butterfly case. Like that's how old my DVD is. Yeah.
I didn't even buy the DVD. I just got it on Vudu. I just bought the digital.
Oh yeah. This is what we have on Blu-ray. Yeah. But I did buy the DVD. Blu-ray. But my wife
released it on Blu-ray.
Yeah, my wife was like, "You can't. You have it. If you have it on DVD, you can't buy it on Blu-ray." So that was a quick trip to Half Price Books, and then bam, Walmart was next.
And now these messages.
What's up, dudes? I'm Gerry D of Totally Rad Christmas, the podcast that talks all things Christmas in the 80s. Toys, movies, specials, music, books, fashion, and fads.
If it was gnarly during Christmas in the 80s, he's got it covered. Wait, is there a lot of things to talk about for the 80s and Christmas?
Well, you got the movie giants like Christmas Vacation, Scrooged, and A Christmas Story. There are TV specials like Muppet Family Christmas, Claymation Christmas Celebration, and a Garfield Christmas special.
Plus classics shown every year.
You also jam out to Last Christmas, Do They Know It's Christmas, and Christmas in Hollis. But most of all, it was a time for the most bodacious, best-selling Christmas toys ever, like He-Man, G.I. Joe, Transformers,
and Cabbage Patch Kids.
Yes, them too. We cover them all, plus much more, including standard segments like Hap Happiest Memory, Gag Me with the Spoon, The Other Half of the Battle,
and Chant with the Littles.
So tune in to Totally Rad Christmas everywhere you get your podcasts. Turn the clock back and dive into those warm and fuzzy memories.
Later, dudes.
Are you a fan of movies and TV shows inspired by comics? Ready for a podcast that dives deep into the thrilling world of adaptations? Well, look no further. Welcome to Moving Panels, the podcast where we discuss movies and TV shows based on, inspired by, and adapted from the world of comic books. This is your go-to podcast for all things comics on screen. I'm your host, Laramy Wells, and every Monday we explore the dynamic universe where ink meets action. We break down the classics, reveal hidden gems, and uncover the creative process behind your favorite adaptations. Subscribe to Moving Panels now on your favorite podcast platform and join us on this epic journey through the pages of comics and onto the big screen. Remember, new episodes drop every Monday. Don't miss out. Moving Panels, where every panel has a story and every adaptation is a blockbuster. Subscribe today, and I'll see you on the other side of the page.
Curious about lip filler? Whether you want a subtle pout or bold plump, Juvederm lip fillers can give you a customized lip look. Juvederm Volbella XC and Juvederm Ultra XC can last up to a full year with optimal treatment, giving your lips added volume for smooth, natural-looking, and long-lasting results. Whether you're concerned about your thin lips or simply want fuller lips, ask about Juvederm lip fillers at your next appointment with your licensed specialist. And download the Ally app, that's ALLE, the official loyalty program of Juvederm, to save on treatments. For important safety information and to find a licensed specialist, visit Juvederm.com. That's JUVEDERM.com. Not for people with severe allergic reactions, allergies to lidocaine, or the proteins used in Juvederm. Common side effects include injection site redness, swelling, pain, tenderness, firmness, lumps, bumps, bruising, discoloration, or itching. There's a risk of unintentional injection into a blood vessel, which can cause vision abnormalities, blindness, stroke, temporary scabs, or scarring. Talk to a licensed specialist to find out if it's right for you.
Your teen requested a ride, but this time not from you. It's through their Uber teen account. You drive your teenager around, a lot, to their friend Jacob's house, their other friend Jake's house, to James's, to Jaden's, to Jalen's, to...
Mom? This is Jake's house, not Jacob's.
Now with an Uber teen account, your teen can request a ride under your supervision. They'll ride with a highly rated driver, and with live trip tracking, you'll follow along the whole ride to their friends' houses that all sound the same. Add your teen to your Uber account today. See app for details.
Bye, Mom.
All right, well, let's talk about story origin and pre-production.
I was going to say, hold up now. You got the comic book guy sitting here. The story origin is Jack Kirby. That's the story origin.
Right.
We're going to get into that, I think.
Yeah. Okay.
You can fill in all my holes. Here we go. The Master of the Universe toy line started in 1982, which was then followed up by the TV series He-Man and the Masters of the Universe from 1983 to 1985. The first theatrically released movie to star He-Man and feature Masters of the Universe characters was an animated film called He-Man and She-Ra, The Secret of the Sword, which was released in 1985. Work then started on producing a live-action Masters of the Universe film. One of the original drafts from the script by David Odell, whose previous writing credits included Supergirl and The Dark Crystal, was reviewed on the third episode of the He-Man and She-Ra podcast. The original draft included more time spent on Eternia and Snake Mountain, had Beastman in a speaking role, and revealed that He-Man's mother was originally from Earth, like the character Queen Marlena from the Filmation animated series He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, thus linking the two planets. According to Gerry Goddard, the director, the draft of the script he received took place completely on Earth in order to keep the budget down. Although he liked the fish out of water aspect, he asked for more money so he could at least start and end the film on planet Eternia. Producer Edward R. Pressman hired Gerry Goddard to direct based on the Universal Studios tour stage production, The Adventures of Conan, a sword and sorcery spectacular, which Goddard created, wrote, and directed. So I think that's what you're alluding to here, Laramy. Comic creator John Byrne compared the look of the Masters of the Universe film with that of New Gods, part of the legendary Jack Kirby Fourth World series.
Mm-hmm.
It turned out that this similarity was more than a coincidence, as the film's director, Gerry Goddard, confirmed that he took much inspiration from that series as well as Kirby's other works. According to director Gerry Goddard, Mattel caused problems for the production crew by not paying their half of the production budget on time. A member of staff was forced to put lens caps on cameras on several shooting days to prevent any more filming from taking place. Due to the production running out of budget, Goddard had to finance the filming of the battle scene between He-Man and Skeletor himself. Only Lundgren and Langella were present, along with the skeleton crew, with the lights setting with the sets lighting made dark to emphasize the actor's presence. I think
and then it wasn't even really Frank Langella.
Yeah, it was the stunt coordinator
right.
Yeah,
Anthony DeLongis. Yeah,
mm-hmm.
He was the one Skeletor.
Yeah,
which is a shame because you can tell, like, as soon as that fight happens, you know, it's like it just goes dark. And they kind of make it work, you know, with the lights in the background, and it's like trying to emphasize these two, but the quality, you know, everything in Grayskull was like perfectly lit before then, and then just all of a sudden it's like really dark, and you can tell that it was like a quicker scene. They had to change choreography. I mean, it just it was kind of a real letdown, especially again for a movie that kind of let you down already as a kid. You're waiting for He-Man and Skeletor to really go at it, and then okay, well, sorry.
Yeah. I'm actually looking at that. I think part of my notes got left off, but I know the director wanted to, going back to Kirby being a part, the director actually wanted to dedicate the movie to Jack Kirby, but Mattel wouldn't let him. The producers wouldn't let him do it. So he was a little perturbed about that.
That would be against brand.
Right.
Yeah. It's look, as the comic book guy, I mean,
go ahead.
I can't help but watch it and think this is 100% Fourth World. The portals are absolutely boom tubes. Skeletor easily replaced by Darkseid. No problem there.
Even the look, like Castle Grayskull itself looked more like a
lot of, I mean, Master of Arms is clearly Orion. Like, I mean, it's just, there's so much about it. I mean, I could even say that Beastman is Calabac. I mean, there's just so much.
Kinda, yeah.
Of course, it's not supposed to just be Fourth World. There's also supposed to be like a Thor with like He-Man being Thor and Evelyn being Loki, and
I read that too. I had a much longer, like, detailed of that stuff that I cut it out for time. So, but yeah, Mattel had a lot to say about the movie, or a lot of things they were in control of. They were initially very controlling over how He-Man was depicted in the film, insisting that the character could not appear doing anything morally wrong, such as swearing or killing anyone, which is why they created the robot, so that if they killed anybody, it wasn't a flesh and blood character.
And that was already a rule that they had with Filmation as well. So that's why you never see He-Man fighting anyone with his sword. He uses his sword to like parry shots. Sometimes he'll tie a rope around it and use it like a grappling hook. But he mostly just picks people up and throws them. He doesn't really punch anybody either. He mostly just punches like boulders. It's kind of the same thing. And so they kind of snuck around it by having Skeletor's troopers be robots, like you said, which alluded to like the evil Horde, and Hordak, his Horde troopers. But at the same time, Skeletor was a member of the Horde like early on, before like He-Man was even around. So it's like, I guess it makes sense, but in the cartoon, which we were used to seeing, it didn't make any sense for Skeletor to have like a big old robot army,
It makes sense with the Jack Kirby connection if you make Skeletor Dr. Doom and all of his Doom bots.
Right. But I mean, not really in He-Man lore. I mean, there was like a whole lore and mythos at this point that they could have drawn
so
from.
far off of that lore, though.
Yeah.
Right. It didn't add up.
That's why I'm surprised you're saying Mattel was so involved, because I'm like, really? Because they're trying to sell toys, and this movie resembles none of those toys whatsoever.
Yeah. Well, part of it I know is that some of the guys from Mattel were hoping that they could license any original designs for toys, and they were able to get a couple of them. So they produced toys of Blade and Sarah Wildor. Never produced Karg until, except in the classics line. The Super 7 did it a few years ago, because Karg kind of came out in like a comic adaptation, like a UK British comic from, I don't remember, I think 87 or so. But like, I get why they would kind of want to do that, but also it still didn't make sense. You have these existing characters that fit right in with your, with your world. Just use those characters and you can pump up sales of those toys.
Yeah.
So,
well, one thing I read a couple of different articles or like interviews with Goddard, and he said that at the beginning, Mattel wanted like 64 of their toys in the movie. Like they wanted like every toy imaginable. He's like, there's no way I can do that. He was like, you got to think about it as
they wanted the money for that.
Yeah, he was like, yeah, exactly.
Right,
he was like,
canon.
Budget, with the budget. And he's like, but I've got to tell a story. He said, and he kind of compared it to the Wizard of Oz. He's like, I've got Dorothy, the Tin Man, the Scarecrow, and the Lion, and Toto. So like, I mean, those are you're following their journey.
Right.
He said, then so having He-Man, Man of Arms, Tila, and then the two kids. He's like, that was kind of like my good guy section. And then you got Skeletor with Evelyn, and then her mercenaries. Like, so that was really all we could fit story-wise.
Which was straight up Return of the Jedi, right? Yeah. I mean, that literally was just. I mean, Empire Strikes Back. Sorry.
Oh yeah. A lot of parallels like in there, and we'll get to the opening credits, because as soon as the opening credits started, I thought of Laramy. I was like, okay, the theme sounds like Superman. The titles are just like Superman.
Oh yeah, we got to talk music. It's Bill Conti. I mean, like Rocky. I mean, this guy, he's done a lot of stuff, but there's sections that are straight up John Williams. So the theme during when Skeletor's marching down like the street in his, he's floating in his big hover war chariot, whatever it's called.
Right.
And I mean, it's very Mars, which John Williams typically rips off in Star Wars. I mean, they like tried to cram Star Wars into this as well. I mean, I don't know what they were thinking, but they're like, if we take Jack Kirby and Star Wars and maybe a little bit of Conan and just mash it together, we got a hit.
Right, exactly. That sounds like canon films. That's
true. That is canon.
Yeah. I didn't realize when I put the movies together for my action-packed August how many canon films I was doing.
I mean, it's the 80s.
Right. So we did Delta Force. We're doing this now. We're going to do Cyborg a little bit later.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. One of you mentioned in the Delta Force episode about how Canon used to make commercials of what could be what could become a movie. right?
Right.
I just seen one of those on YouTube the other day.
Yeah, There's a couple of YouTubes where they have like a full, like, it's like 13 or 15 minute like promo reel of like
sizzle reel.
Yeah, sizzle reel, like 15-second promos for all these movies that half of them never even.
I had never seen it. When you guys mentioned it, I had never known about that, and then I happened.
Oh yeah,
to see it
yeah,
2 days
just to get investors excited so that they would pay money. And finance these films to be made, and then they would get scripts, and then they would make sure the actors were involved.
Well, it was funny when I watched it because some of them I recognized obviously, but they didn't give titles for them or anything.
Yeah, they didn't have a title yet.
Except one Chuck Norris film, they gave it a title, but it ended up being called Sidekicks instead later on, and filmed way later down the line.
Oh, yeah. I watched one, and there was like you said, there was no title of the movie. It was like, we've got the greatest actor, the greatest martial arts in our next big movie, and that was it. Like, you didn't, that was like, they were obviously talking about Chuck Norris, but they didn't have a title for the movie. Like, he's playing a cop, he's doing this. You can't wait to see it when it comes out. Like, well, what is it called? Next movie, here we go. It's like it just moves from one to the other.
It's kind of genius if you think about it.
But
you can also tell that as money as they raised, it still wasn't enough, because look at this one. They were really hoping this and Superman 4 would like catapult them into superstardom so that they could take profits and like create Spider-Man with this.
Right.
And of course that both films famously like crashed and burned because they just ran out of cash. So they couldn't get anybody excited for this, I guess.
Well, they also said like the He-Man brand had started to like take a dip, so it wasn't as popular by the time it came out. So they, but they were hoping that it would still have enough a fan base to really push it. So like you said, it didn't. I don't think it excited the fans like they hoped it would.
No,
it was too far.
It needed to be made like 2 to 3 years earlier.
Yeah, it was too far removed from the story that they wanted to see.
Yeah, we were starting to get into Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles by this point.
Yeah,
right. 87 is when the cartoon came out. And,
Yep.
So,
all right. Well, let's talk about casting. Or is there anything else you wanted to add about comic book connections there, Laramy? Or
no, I mean it's just
the Jack Kirby world.
It's just the whole Jack Kirby thing, and all the connections there. I mean, I absolutely, if I watch it as a fourth world movie, I'm like, hey, that's not a bad fourth world movie for the 80s. But yeah, it's not a He-Man movie.
If you're talking references, did you know there's a reference to the movie Ben-Hur?
I missed it.
Really?
The Cosmic Key melody references Nicholas Rose's title music from Ben-Hur, it says.
Oh wow.
Oh. Well, there you go.
I'll have to rewatch. I haven't seen Ben-Hur since like I was a kid.
I just thought it was something put together and thrown in there. I didn't realize it mimicked something.
Yeah.
The cosmic
little Easter eggs. Yeah. The Cosmic Key. Yeah.
It's a Japanese synthesizer.
Yeah.
This thing isn't Russian, is it? Yeah.
That's like the most 80s line ever.
All right. Well, let's jump into casting. We'll talk about the main characters, which there's not a whole lot of them, but we'll talk about the cast here. Of course, we'll talk about He-Man, Dolph Lundgren. Lundgren became interested in martial arts at a young age. This would lead him to hold the rank of 4th Dan black belt in Kyokushin Karate and became European champion in 1980 and 1981. In 82, while studying to get a master's degree, he became the boyfriend of singer Grace Jones. He moved to New York City with her and started taking acting classes. In 85, he had a breakthrough role playing the lead villain as imposing Soviet boxer Ivan Drago in Sylvester Stallone's Rocky IV. Greatest Christmas movie ever. No, I'm just kidding.
I covered it.
Yeah. Lundgren went on to play lead roles in over 80 action-oriented films, including Red Scorpion in 88, The Punisher in 89, I Come in Peace in 1990, Showdown in Little Tokyo in 91, Joshua Tree in 93, Men of War in 94, Silent Trigger in 96, and Blackjack in 98. He continued playing lead villains in Universal Soldier in 92 against Jean-Claude Van Damme, and Johnny Mnemonic in 1985 against Keanu Reeves.
Oh yeah, where he's like the street preacher or something, right?
Yeah.
I forgot he was in that.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, he returned to prominence. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'm just saying, let's not forget this man has a master's degree in chemical engineering.
This guy's like genius level. Plus, he's this like you said, such a physical presence. It's just like, man, that's not fair.
Right. At the time of filming, Dolph Lundgren had limited acting experience, spoke with a thick Swedish accent. and was not fluent in English. Director Gary Goddard had planned to have all of Lundgren's lines dubbed by another actor, but Lundgren's contract stipulated he would have at least 3 opportunities to redub his lines in post-production. With the film running behind schedule, Goddard decided to use his natural voice. He still overdubbed, he still went back and overdubbed all his lines, but he didn't get to keep them. So
they learned from Schwarzenegger to not allow that to happen.
Well, I also think it might have been a better movie if they had used a different, at least to kid me, I think it would have been a much better movie if they had used like a different voice. Nowadays, of course, I'm glad they kept his own. I appreciate his delivery and everything, even though it is what it is. But as a kid, you hear He-Man's voice is another one that's so iconic. Like you figured they would have tapped a different voice actor, and then of course you realize it's canon and there's no money for anything. So
right, we don't have money for that.
That's right.
So Lundgren said in a French magazine that working on the film was, quote, a nightmare. The shooting schedule was 5 months, including 2 months of night shooting. He said he was approached to do a sequel during shooting and turned it down. However, in an interview with the 109 website promoting The Expendables in 2010, he said he would return to appear in a new Masters of the Universe movie as either a cameo or as He-Man himself.
No.
No, thank you.
No, not as He-Man.
I'm fine with the cameo. I appreciate those, but he doesn't need to play He-Man again.
Or make him like King Randor.
King Randor.
Yeah, or
that could work.
Yeah. He said a cameo would work. That'd be good.
Yeah.
All right, then we got Frank Langella as Skeletor. Langella juggled film and TV with his stage work playing Sherlock Holmes in an 1981 adaptation of the play. He repeated the role on Broadway in 1987 in Sherlock's Last Case. That same year, he portrayed the villain Skeletor in Masters of the Universe, one of his favorite parts. In 1988, he co-starred in the film And God Created a Woman. In 1982, Langella portrayed Antonio Salieri in the Broadway production of Amadeus, replacing Ian McKellen. During this time, he had also acted in Passion in 1983, Designed for Living in 1984. After the Fall in 1984, Hurly Burly in 1985. He also portrayed Prospero in the revival of William Shakespeare's The Tempest. So he was really mainly known as a Broadway actor. He did some movies and TV, but he was primarily a Shakespeare or a Broadway guy. So
and that checks out. I mean, his whole delivery, like the whole movie, he's playing like to the back of the audience, right? I mean, he's literally just going for it, and it's over the top, and it's amazing. I'd never heard of Frank Langella before this. I remember my dad telling me he was playing him, and I was like, "Who's that?"
Right.
And he said, "Oh, he played Dracula because he was Dracula in like 79."
Dracula.
And that's all I knew him from. Then later on, of course, he's been in like a bunch of cool stuff. But I remember him as the villain in Dave, where that Kevin Kline movie where he's the president. But I mean, I didn't know who this guy was, and then he showed up as Skeletor, and he's the best part, hands down, of this movie, right? I mean,
I was gonna say, like, I didn't realize that was him until I think when I got the DVD and watched the documentary about the Canon films, and they talked about him being Skeletor. I was like, I'd seen him in so many things after that, but of course, he's in the makeup, and it wasn't a voice that I would automatically recognize as a kid. But I was like, I didn't realize that was like a for real actor. In that role as a kid, but he said that he didn't even blink, and he couldn't wait to play him when he was offered the role. He cited that his then 4-year-old son's love of Skeletor while running around his house yelling He-Man's battle cry, "I have the power," as the reason he played He-Man's arch enemy. So he did this one for the kids. And
apparently he really got in shape too. He he
did
really worked out hard and got in shape, and then "No, you're not going to wear Skeletor's outfit.
Right.
You're going to wear this instead." That's kind of heartbreaking. Yeah. Put in all that work and then just
They said that they didn't want him to have the same look as the cartoon because they didn't want Skeletor to look sexy. That was the quote I saw.
Okay.
Right, but you got He-Man running around half naked. But okay, whatever.
Yeah. Nothing says sexy like a skeleton face.
I've always said that. That's true.
And purple spandex.
Exactly. All right.
All right, then we've got Courtney Cox as Julie Winston. Upon graduation, she left Alabama, where she was from, to study architecture and interior design at Mount Vernon College. After 1 year, she dropped out to pursue a modeling career in New York after being signed by the prestigious Ford modeling agency. She appeared on the covers of teen magazines such as Tiger Beat and Little Miss, plus numerous romance novels. She then moved on to commercials for Maybelline, Noxzema, and New York Telephone Company. While modeling, she attended acting classes as her real dream and ambition was to be an actress. In 1984, she landed herself a small part on one episode of As the World Turns as a young debutante named Bunny. Her first big break, however, was being cast by Brian De Palma in the Bruce Springsteen video Dancing in the Dark.
That's the first time I saw it.
Yeah.
We have that video recorded on an old Betamax cassette.
Yep, I remember watching that video on MTV and just her dancing on the stage. That's why I'm laughing. Like, Brian De Palma directed that video. Like, there's nothing to that video besides concert footage. But anyway.
Right.
In 85, she moved to LA to star alongside Dean Paul Martin in Misfits of Science. It was a flop, but a few years later, she was chosen out of thousands of hopefuls to play Michael J. Fox's girlfriend, psychology major Lauren Miller in Family Ties. In 89, Family Ties ended, and Cox went through a lean spell in her career, featuring in unmemorable movies such as Mr. Destiny in 1990 with Michael Caine. Fortunes changed dramatically for Cox when in 1994, she starred alongside Jim Carrey in the unexpected hit Ace Ventura: Pet Detective in 1994. And a year later, she was cast as Monica Geller on the hugely successful sitcom Friends. It was this part that turned her into an international superstar and led to an American Comedy Award nomination.
Can I just talk about how much of a fan I am of Misfits of Science, and I need that to be on DVD or streaming somewhere.
Right. You know, the complete series, all 13 episodes?
Yes, I don't care.
Clean it up. Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with only having 13 episodes total. I mean, one of my most favorite TV shows when I was younger has maybe 11 episodes, and they took it off the air. And I wish I could, I'm sure it's on Amazon somewhere. But I need to find it and buy it for myself. And that was The Master. I love that show. Has nothing to do with what we're talking about at all. Completely opposite. Yes, but what you're talking about, only small episodes. Yeah, nothing wrong with that at all.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But Misfits of Science, just like this movie ripping off a comic book, Misfits of Science, clearly the X-Men.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah. And I need that to be available somewhere.
But yeah, this was her first starring role in a movie, in a motion picture. So I think she did good for what she was given.
Hey, her Friends co-star Jennifer Aniston had Leprechaun. So
exactly, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, pick your poison. Yes.
And wasn't Julia Louis-Dreyfus in Troll?
Oh, was that? Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and then I just found out if you want to watch a forgotten 80s horror movie, check out 1981's The Burning, which seems like a ripoff of Friday the 13th, but was actually written before Friday the 13th. But you'll find a young George Costanza in his very first movie role as well.
Nice.
So I watched that a couple weeks ago, and I was like, that's George Costanza. I mean, with hair. So, I mean, he's playing like a 20-year-old. Of course, he looks like he's 40, but he does have full hair. So it was quite interesting. All right, moving right along, we got Robert Duncan McNeil as Kevin Corrigan. This is not someone that I knew did anything else. As an actor, he's best known for his role as Lieutenant Tom Paris on the television series Star Trek Voyager.
Yes. Yeah.
He also served as an executive producer and frequent director of TV series such as Chuck, Resident Alien, The Gifted, and Turner and Hooch. So that's all I got for him.
Yeah, no, I knew him straight from Voyager.
Same, yeah.
And then my second favorite character after Frank Langella, James Tolkien as Detective Hugh Lubick, because once again, chewing up the scenery. Best known for his roles as Mr. Strickland in Back to the Future.
Yeah, Mr. Strickland.
And other memorable film roles include Love and Death in 75, Top Gun in 86, and he was also in Dick Tracy in 1990.
That's right.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So,
did he call anybody a slacker in this movie? I think
no
numbers.
He should have. Yeah. All right, and then we've got Christina Pickles as Sorceress. She is known for her role as Nurse Helen Rosenthal in the NBC medical drama St. Elsewhere, for which she received 5 nominations for Primetime Emmy Award for Outstanding Supporting Actress in a Drama Series. And another
get to her connection. Yeah, get to her connection.
She's also known for a recurring role as Judy Geller, the mother of
Courtney Cox, Monica, yeah.
Monica and Ross Geller on Friends, for which she also was nominated for a Primetime Emmy Award for Outstanding Guest Actress in a Comedy Series. Yep. So she's also been in Legends of the Fall in 94, Romeo and Juliet in 96, and The Wedding Singer.
The Wedding Singer, yeah.
Yep.
Where she says, what is it? Glenn's a keeper.
Yeah.
It's like, no.
Yeah, Christina Pickles, when I saw her name, I was like, I know that name from somewhere. And then when I was like, but when the first scene of her, I was like, is that Helen Mirren? Because like she had a very Helen Mirren type vibe.
Oh, I got you.
At the very beginning. But then when she became like at the end, when she got released, I was like, oh yeah, that's definitely Monica's mom.
Monica's mom.
Yeah. From Friends.
Yeah.
Then we've got Meg Foster as Evil Lynn. Foster worked throughout the 70s, 80s, and 90s. She guest starred in numerous TV shows, including Hawaii Five-0, $6 Million Man, 3 for the Road, and Star Trek Deep Space Nine.
I mostly just knew her from
she was in the They Live.
She was in They Live, yeah.
Why did I not have that on there? That was on there originally. Sorry, I knew that. Yeah, I had. Oh,
Yeah.
there it is. I'm sorry, I thought I was moving to the other TV shows include Bonanza, The Twilight Zone, The FBI, Here Comes the Bride, Hercules, The Legendary Journeys, and Xena Warrior Princess. She also appeared in films throughout the 80s, beginning with a role as the woman who worked in the games in the Traveling Carnival in Carney, starring Jodie Foster, and Holly in John Carpenter's film They Live with Roddy Piper. There you go. Yeah. I was like, I knew there was something else she was in that was like big, and then you said it. I was like, I knew I had that down somewhere. But yeah.
Yes, and even though I am a huge fan of They Live, anytime I see her, I just have to remember she is not Kirstie Alley.
That's right.
With contact lenses.
Yeah.
Right. Because her eyes are what I, automatically think of.
They're striking. Mhm.
Yes. And we'll talk about that here. So the filmmakers considered having her wear contact lenses to mask her naturally pale blue eyes, but decided they fit the character better. They augmented her chest, fitting cleavage into the costume. She wanted Evil Lynn to have a long hairstyle rather than the short style featured in the film. Mattel objected, considering it far too a departure from the toy. Meg
So
Foster
that departure they had a problem with.
Right?
Right.
She said that she based her character on Shakespeare's Lady Macbeth. In the film's beginning, she is a pantomime villainess, but obviously deeply in love with Skeletor. As the storyline progresses, she gradually comes to realize that he does not truly care for her. In the end, she abandons him to his fate. Her withdrawal of her forces leads to his eventual defeat. In Foster's opinion, the character progresses from evildoer to scorned woman to tragic heroine. One way to look at it.
Yeah, I don't know if I picked up on that character.
Yeah, I definitely didn't.
Well, it gave her motivation while she was acting in it, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I know that costume was like all fiberglass, and she couldn't even sit down, which is crazy.
Yeah, it weighed like 45 pounds, and it bruised her body in some uncomfortable places. Yeah, she couldn't sit down.
Some unmentionable places.
Yes, yeah.
Well, yeah, all the costumes were like crazy. So same thing with like Anthony DeLongis as Blade. Like his costume was like 50 pounds.
Yeah.
Sorod, he had those thick contact lenses, and he was like blind for a bit. He could barely see because of the way it was lit. I mean, these costumes, but they're also kind of cool too at the same time. Like Beastman, I thought was well done. Although he couldn't close his mouth, and so drool would just like soak into his beard.
Right.
That's great. Oh, no thanks.
Yeah, there was lots of trivia, like stories about the costumes and what they had to endure for those. But yeah, good old canon. Like they'll survive. They'll be okay.
That's right. That's right. Do the scene, and then you can die.
Yeah. Yeah. That was Delta Force. Yeah.
That's right.
All right, then we got Chelsea Field as Tila. Field started her career as a solid gold dancer, and one of her first television roles was on Airwolf. She began portraying attorney Rita Devereaux in CIS New Orleans during the program's 3rd season. The character was changed from recurring to regular, effective with the 7th season. Her notable film work include Perfect in 85, Commando in 85. She was one of the stewardesses on the plane.
Oh,
Death Squad in 89. Harley Davidson and the Marlboro Man in 91, and The Last Boy Scout in 91 as the estranged wife of Bruce Willis's character.
Okay. Death Spa. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've seen that one advertised on Tubi, but I've never watched it.
You're not really missing anything, but it's also like so
surprised.
bonkers that you have to watch it.
It's one of those.
Yeah.
What are you gonna say, Chris?
Was she the stewardess where he's telling, "Don't disturb my friend, he's dead tired"?
I think so.
Yeah, I think she is. So, all right, and then we're rounding out the cast here. We got John Cypher as Man-at-Arms. He's best known for playing Chief of Police Fletcher Daniels on Hill Street Blues throughout the series run. He's also known for his work in Cinderella, As the World Turns, Major Dad, Law and Order, and the soap opera Santa Barbara. He also performed several times on Broadway, particularly in musical theater. I didn't recognize him, but
I didn't recognize him either.
yeah, his voice sounded familiar to me. Like I could see him being some kind of voice actor. He had a very distinct voice. And then last on the list, we got Billy Barty as Gwildor. In adult life, he stood 3 foot 9 inches tall due to cartilage, hair, hypoplasia, dwarfism. Because of his short stature, he was often cast in films opposite taller performers for comic effect. He specialized in outspoken or wisecracking characters. During the 1950s, he became a television actor, appearing regularly in the Spike Jones Ensemble. In the early 70s, he appeared often in a variety of roles in children TV programs produced by Sid and Marty Krofft. As an activist for people with dwarfism, he founded the Little People of America organization in 1957. Some of his more substantial film roles were as Elf Screwball in Legend, High Aldwin, the village elder in Willow, alongside Warwick Davis, and as cameraman Noodles McIntosh in Weird Al Yankovic's UHF.
UHF.
The first time I saw Willow, I saw his character in Willow, and I said, "That's Gwildor."
The same. Yeah, I did too. It's like, I know that guy.
Say, like his makeup and everything was very well done. Like as much as he was on screen, like his makeup and stuff was done really well. So,
but I'm still kind of mad that he wasn't Orko.
Yeah, well, he was created to replace Orko because they didn't have the technology to make Orko a floating, being,
they didn't have the money either.
Yeah, exactly. All right, anybody from the cast that I might have missed, or somebody you wanted to mention or stood out to you that you wanted to comment on?
I think that's everybody.
Yeah,
although I got to say that Charlie that owns the this place,
the music store,
every once in a while he reminded me of Will Ferrell. It's not him, but he kind of looks like him a bit. Yeah. So that's all.
He's one of the he was one of the sons from My Three Sons. I didn't put him on there, but I did read. He wasn't like in the movie enough for me to think he was worth mentioning, but I did read that about his bio. So
that's what I was going to say. Barry Livingston sounds like the name of one of the guys from My Three Sons. I was going to confirm it with you. So
he was. All right, well, let's talk about iconic scenes and favorite scenes. I'll start with Laramy on this one. If someone says Masters of the Universe, what's the first scene that pops in your head?
It's and again, I think it's just because this was one of the first things I saw from that movie. It's when they teleport just the part of the car and the building and
right,
and
the
all
alley,
that. It's just that shot. Like that's what I think of when I think of this, or possibly even like Gerry was talking about with the Star Wars connection, the fight between He-Man and Skeletor that looks like it's a lightsaber battle.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's probably the first things that come to mind for me.
Gotcha. What about you, Chris?
I was looking for the payoff. I have the power. I was looking for that, and when I saw that, when I finally saw that part happen in the movie, it kind of gives you chills when you see it, but it's it's just not the same. But I mean, I was still happy when I saw it though.
Yeah.
So when I think of the movie, I think of him, the Skeletor, doing what he's doing to him fighting through it and getting the sword out and raising it up and saying, "I have the power." And listen to how cheesy it sounds when Dolph Lundgren says it.
Yeah.
Doesn't have the same ring to it, does it?
No, it does not.
It's like when Cyborg said "booyah" in the Justice League movie.
No, we don't speak the same movie.
Don't do that.
No thanks.
Some things you just you get disappointed in, and this is one of those I was disappointed in. I was holding out for it and waiting for it. Then I heard it, and it's like, it gave me chills, but it just wasn't the same.
They quickly left. Yeah.
Yes, quickly left. And also, I was if I had one more, I mean, I wish Tila would have been portrayed a little bit better.
Yeah.
Just a little bit.
It drove me nuts every time she fired her blaster because she would hold it like this with her arms bent and her elbows kind of in. They're not like, nowadays. And of course, I know it's like a convention nowadays where they do, like the 3-point stance or whatever it is, and their arms like extended and they're aiming. But she just held it in such like a weird, wimpy way almost.
Yeah.
But then also you're like, why does Tila have a blaster? Is the other thing.
They all have guns.
But you know what though? If I have to be honest, when someone today asks me about the movie, what's the first thing that pops in my head? It's the sound of the cosmic key.
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay. That's a good one. Yeah.
So that kind of sticks out to me in my head. It's like, so that's probably, I don't know. I enjoy the sound of the cosmic key more than I do Dolph Lundgren saying I have the power.
Valid point.
Nice.
All right. What about you, Jerry?
So the first thing I think of when someone says Masters of the Universe, of course, is all of Frank Langella's monologues. But one of those scenes that always stuck out to me was when, and I kind of mentioned it already, when his I don't know what vehicle it's supposed to be. It's very Jabba the Hutt's barge, just floating. So that always stuck out to me, and mostly because as that's happening, He-Man, starts fighting with some of the quasi, dark stormtroopers, and he Back to the Future 2's it. He jumps on like these little discs, and they're kind of they're like the hoverboard. So that always sticks out of my head, and then of course when He-Man's being whipped by Blade, and because I was, as a kid, I was like, oh no, He-Man, like no, don't get whipped.
Right.
But then he gets the power, so can't complain.
I will say those little flying discs, once again, very Jack Kirby Fourth World. Yeah. Kind of again reminds me of the little, even though it's not like a disc, the little thing Orion rides around on. Yeah.
Yeah, I think for me, it's the, I have the power, of course, that's iconic, even though it's not as great as in the movie. But I remember when that happened in the movie, like seeing it as a kid, I remember like, oh, he finally said it. Like it was so late in the movie, but but it was there. And then like Larry said, the fight between Skeletor and He-Man, I think of that scene, just them. I think there's like that one scene where they clash together and then the whole thing gets like yellow or like
like that's what that's the lightsaber battle.
It's like it's very Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader in Empire Strikes Back.
And they had to like really change all the choreography because I guess they rehearsed it, and then that headdress thing that he has was just so huge that they had to cut it down. And I would have liked to have seen the full thing. I know Canon, legit just turned off everything like 3 days before they were supposed to stop
ran
filming.
Out of money. Yeah,
but God, it would have been nice to see.
It's one of those movies that, like, we've had other movies like this before, where like the potential was there for it to be great, and then they just kind of dropped the ball almost every level to make it great. So it had the makings of being something more memorable than it is now.
Right.
But yeah.
Well, the problem is that the cartoon set it up so well for us, right? Because every episode's the same. We have Adam and his friends, and there's a problem. Adam transforms to He-Man, and then He-Man solves the problem. But we didn't get that at all. All of a sudden, it's like the problem is past, and He-Man's already He-Man, and now there's like this weird, like, despotic ruler. Skeletor's taken over somehow. The impossible's happened.
It's like you kind of get dropped in the story like without any context,
right? Like in media res.
And I think for me too, like not being as big of a He-Man fan, even watching it again today, like I didn't play with the toys enough to know the all of the mythology and the lore. But it's like I felt like even today, I was like, I feel like I needed to know more about these characters to understand them better. Like it wasn't a great, introduction of these characters for somebody that was not a fan already. And so that can sometimes, not help it either, where it doesn't grab that mass appeal that you want it to, appeal to the fans and also those that didn't know anything about He-Man before that. So like them kind of already in this battle, trying to get to Skeletor at the beginning. And then, then the cosmic key becomes important, but you're not really sure why and how. And then we go to Earth, and it's like, why are we on Earth? This, it kept taking these turns. Like, why did you choose to do that? Of course, now, like I said, looking at the history of how trying to get it made and the money
budget,
it is what it is because of that. So
yeah, there was supposed to be like a whole thing with Snake Mountain. Tila was going to be rescued at the beginning. I mean, that would have been cool. I know Lubick at one point was supposed to like arrest He-Man and the folks, and then Evil Lynn was going to show up there. I mean, there was a lot of other things that are in the novelization that didn't occur in the movie, but it's like, man, I would have liked to have seen that. I think that would have made it a lot better, but canon.
Yeah. The director said, like, he in one of the interviews, he was saying, he was like, there were a lot of things that, because they asked, like, how, you know, we know you were limited. And even though the budget, like, they got like $5 million more, you know, as the movie was going on. And they're like, what were the things that, is there anything on the cutting room floor that you wish we could see? He was like, unfortunately, the things that I want you to see never got to be filmed because they were cut before we get there. Like, we had great scenes that we were looking forward to shooting, and then they were like, no, we don't have money to do something else. And he's like, we were always having to pivot to do something different and kind of leave.
Hey, another Friends reference.
Pivot.
Oh man,
good call, Laramy. Good call. So it's kind of like once again, the potential was there that it could have been something really good, and it kept falling apart. So, all right, any favorite scenes we want to talk about? Anything we haven't mentioned already that you want to talk about?
I have no favorite scenes. I'm just gonna put that out there.
Laramy, this was better than Nightmare on Elm Street 2, though, right?
I don't know.
Oh gosh. If you haven't listened
Nightmare on Elm Street 2, I at least will rewatch probably more frequently.
I will say the Masters of the Universe is better than Elm Street 2 just for the nostalgia of it being He-Man at least. But if we're being serious about it, Elm Street 2 is probably a better movie.
The part that always
they both messed with the mythology of their characters.
Yeah, they're both flawed in that main point. Exactly. So.
Well, and I know part of the problem was that they had the rights to the characters, but not like any of the filmation stuff. So they could kind of allude to it, but really a lot of it was based on, you know, the mini comics and the original story that they came up with, which really isn't a story. It's literally just Skeletor's trying to get the power sword to get into Grayskull, and that's it, you know, and then He-Man stops him. So that kind of, with what they had to work with, I guess they were able to expand it to 1 hour and 45 minutes. But, you know, again, the issue is that as a kid, not only do we not know of this, but we have this expectation set up by this other media now. And yeah, it didn't fulfill it. But I will say one of my favorite scenes, it's one of the dumb scenes where like they land on Earth and they're looking for food.
Yeah.
They're eating the ribs, and she's like, why do they put the meat on these little white sticks?
Right. Yeah.
And Man-at-Arms has to tell her, well, you know, they're ribs, they're rib bones.
Are you saying this is an animal?
Yeah. Right. So that always stood out to me.
Well, it did taste good.
That's right.
Yeah. The Gwildor had a big old bucket of things, you know. I was gonna share.
He just drinks the barbecue sauce. Like, oh man.
Yeah.
Will we ever get a decent live action version? They keep rumoring it. And things can happen.
They keep trying to bring it up. But
the latest script idea or the plot that's been kind of tossed around tells me no. So. Yeah, it sounds pretty terrible.
We had fun. We had fun one night, and we did a recasting episode of Master.
Oh, nice.
We did it. If you were to take people, I took Chris Hemsworth actually for He-Man. I took Liam Hemsworth to be Prince Adam.
Oh, okay, I like that.
That's not bad.
That's good. That's smart. Yeah.
And Travis, my co-host, to be funny, he took Terry Crews as He-Man. We had somebody reach out to us. He does, but we had somebody reach out to see. He did it because there was a funny picture Terry Crews put out of himself.
I did see that.
Yeah.
Did you see it?
Yeah.
So he chose it because of that, and we actually had somebody leave us a message on that video saying, "You are aware that He-Man doesn't look like that in the cartoons, right?" We're like, thank you very much.
Yeah.
It was meant to be funny.
We get it. Yeah.
It was all for fun.
Mm-hmm.
Reference the Terry Crews picture online. You'll see what we're talking about.
Who do you think would be a good Skeletor? Like, who could pull that off now? With the full, you know, they have to act with the mask and everything.
I don't remember who I put down for it. It's been a while since we did it. I just remember those. I remember those two for Prince Adam and He-Man. I'd have to go back and rewatch it again to see who took for everything else.
Do we want him to have the high pitched voice?
That's what I'm trying to think of.
Yeah, I think you got to have a high pitched voice a little.
I
bit.
mean, now that it's been like with the memification of it all, I think we kind of have to, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be as bad as high.
Right.
I mean, I think Mark Hamill did a serviceable job in Revelations and Revolution.
Revolution.
I mean, it's basically his Joker, right? But
which they brought Gildor into that.
They did.
Yes, they did. Yeah, which was nice.
And Pig Boy too. Pig Boy was in there also.
Yeah. Which was
Pig Boy and Goatman. Goatman was from something else, but
Pig Boy was created because Mattel ran a promotion to be a walk-in in the movie and didn't tell the director until they're almost finished with shooting. So that Pig Boy was the character they created for just hand him his staff. That's your walk-in role in full makeup that nobody knows who you are. There you go.
Dude, I'd take it.
Yeah. You got an IMDb credit.
That's one of those. I'd be like introducing myself all the time. Is that like, hi, I'm Jerry. Did you know I was Pig Boy in Masters of the Universe?
Yeah, I don't know who could pull off Skeletor now.
Yeah, my thought, if you want that voice, but he's kind of up in age now, would be Willem Dafoe.
Ooh,
yeah,
I like that.
Yeah, that's not bad. But I mean, he's gonna be in. They're probably gonna do CGI of his face. I don't know if they do like full makeup like they did Langella, but I could see that. Even if he was just the voice, and you had just somebody else as like the pull a Darth Vader, have a body actor and then the voice actor.
I could see Hugo Weaving possibly doing it.
I don't think he'll do that much makeup anymore, but yeah. I definitely could see him doing that. Yeah.
I love how we're naming these people and we're pretty much going, it could be Green Goblin or it could be Red Skull.
Or it could be Red Skull. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Right.
But I do got to commend. I thought they did a fantastic job with Skeletor's the makeup done.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
yeah. I wanted it to be yellow, but I mean, I believed it was a skull as a kid.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, it was very well done.
And now these messages.
Hey there, fellow 80s movie aficionados. Are you ready to embark on a nostalgia-filled journey to the greatest era of cinema? Then look no further than the Retro Life for You 80s Movie Podcast. Join us every week as we rewind the VHS tapes, dust off those Betamax classics, and dive headfirst into the neon-soaked, totally tubular world of the 1980s movies. From the Brat Pack to action heroes, we've got it all covered. Breakfast Club, Ghostbusters, E.T. and Indiana Jones, and more. It's like a trip in Doc Brown's time machine, but without the DeLorean. So whether you're a die-hard 80s film buff or just curious about the cinematic gems of the past, Retro Life for You is your ticket to the ultimate movie time warp. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Retro Life for You, and we can be found anywhere you listen to your podcast, as well as on our website, www.retrolife4u.com.
This episode is brought to you by Coffee Mate. Coffee Mate is the world's biggest coffee lover because we love all the ways you enjoy. Wait. Coffee Mate can't love coffee more than me. I'm a foodie. I went to Kyoto just for a nitro matcha latte. What? Oh, I have to finish the ad. Coffee Mate, for the love of coffee.
This episode is brought to you by Jira. Ever wonder how those big marketing campaigns that make headlines get delivered on time? It all starts with Jira, the only project management tool you need to plan and track work across any team. Every step of that campaign is organised in one place, from launching the campaign all the way back to designing ads and writing creative briefs. Get started on your next big marketing campaign idea today in Jira.
All right, well, let's jump into some trivia. I'll skip over a bunch of stuff. It'll be in the show notes because we won't be able to cover it all. All right, so Canon Films said Dolph Lundgren was a difficult actor to find a convincing stunt double for due to his look and build, so they persuaded him to perform many of the stunts himself. In reality, the budget was so tight, Canon saw it as a way to cut costs. Anything that was deemed particularly dangerous, a real stuntman was used for, and had to be creatively filmed to hide the fact it was a stuntman, such as using high camera angles or showing him obscured by shadows. But otherwise, he performed a great many of the stunts himself. I will say that the flying on the disc things, or the models, that you could definitely tell it was a model they were using flying around. So that was pretty fun to watch. When Blade engages He-Man in a sword fight, Blade says to He-Man, "I've been waiting a long time for this." In Blade's backstory, Blade lost his left eye in a fight with He-Man.
Which that's cool. I would have liked to have learned that.
Right.
Yeah, to have known that.
Yeah. But also, why didn't they use Triclops?
Right. Right.
Another good example of why they had the characters. They could have just inserted them, but instead it seems like the production designer just wanted to create his own or something. I don't know. It's frustrating. I still love this movie.
Why have a character that is pretty much just a James Tolkien with an eye patch?
Yeah.
Well, he was supposed to look more alien, but they didn't want to spend money on makeup, and also Anthony DeLonge just didn't want to be in makeup long, so he said he would just shave his head for it. And
I thought it was interesting. The Skeletor mask found new life on the sets of Star Trek: The Next Generation and Star Trek: Deep Space Nine as the face of skull-faced alien that Lieutenant Worf often fights on the holodeck. Frank Langella made a series of guest appearances on Deep Space Nine, while Robert Duncan McNeil guest starred on The Next Generation before getting a starring role on Star Trek Voyager.
Yeah.
In addition, Chelsea Field is married to Star Trek Enterprise 2001 cast member Scott Bakula, and Gwen Guilford, Julie's mom, is the real-life mother of Star Trek cast member Chris Pine.
Oh, that's cool.
That's awesome.
Star Trek.
Yeah. I didn't know that.
All right, so a comic book adaptation was published by Star Comics, a short-lived imprint of Marvel. It was written by Ralph Macchio and drawn by George Tuska. The official Masters of the Universe comic book adaptation has an alternate ending that was written for the movie but never filmed. In the comic, after the final battle between He-Man and Skeletor, Man-at-Arms comes from the depths of Castle Grayskull carrying a NASA and United States flag that says Starfinder 5, July 10, 2221, revealing that the first humans on Eternia were from a future American space mission.
Planet of the Apes, the ending.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which I think Goddard said.
Is there anything they didn't steal to make this movie?
Not much.
He-Man?
Yeah. So Gary Goddard came up with the idea of Skeletor in a bottomless pit filled with bubbling red water at the very end of the film. One of the very first, post-credit scenes for a comic book movie.
Right.
After filming the final battle between He-Man and Skeletor, which took one day to shoot, Gary Goddard told Frank Langella his idea for the very end of the film, and that Frank Langella approved. Boss Studios prepared a vat of bubbling red liquid, and Gary Goddard walked Frank Langella in full costume and makeup to the vat of bubbling liquid and told him that you get back in there in full makeup and costume and you pop up and say, "I'll be back." And they got the shot, and this was the last shot of the day.
Terminator.
Yeah.
Never came back.
Well, I mean, they were going to make part 2. They had scripts and everything. She-Ra was going to be more involved in that one. I mean, they even cast a surfer, I think, as He-Man. And have you seen the costume design, like the concept art for She-Ra? It is crazy looking. It's nothing like She-Ra. And there's a cosplayer. I forgot her name, but she had dressed like it, and I was like, wow, is that what it would look like? Because that's cool. But also, like, it's not She-Ra, you know? So, but nowadays, everything's multiverse, and there's so many different continuities that, they even have a comic, He-Man and the Masters of the Multiverse. So, it's like a whole thing. And this would fit. This is just another universe where...
Right. Exactly.
Well, a lot of people like the whole multiverse concept. To me, it kind of ruins a lot of stuff. And I'm one.
I think it's just played out. Yeah.
I'm one that likes what I traditionally seen on television or something. I like it to be as close as possible to it.
Yeah.
But with the whole multiverse thing, it can be just whatever and whoever.
Yeah.
I'm just not a big fan of it.
Yeah, I got you.
As Gerry mentioned, a Master of the Universe sequel was written and cast, but was never filmed. Director Albert Pyun, Pyun, I guess I'm saying that right, proposed making the sequel and a Spider-Man film back-to-back at De Laurentiis studio in Wilmington, North Carolina. The sets for the two movies were built, the costumes were made, both films were fully cast, and the budget for Master of the Universe Part 2 was set at $4.5 million. Mattel approved many of the characters that would appear in the sequel. The only known actor cast for the sequel was surfer Laird Hamilton as He-Man, and the only aspect known about the sequel's screenplay was He-Man returning to Earth disguised as a professional quarterback. We're doing a Flash Gordon now? Anyway.
I started to say, that sounds familiar.
Again,
from something else.
Right.
It's like they don't understand. We like it because it's a whole other planet, fantasy world.
Right. Right.
It's like, why? Don't bring us to Earth. Like,
right.
We've seen Earth.
We don't want
Eternia. Like,
exactly.
show us Eternia. Come on.
Right. So right before filming was to begin, Mattel and Marvel revoked the rights to both properties due to non-payment. Canon Films had used low-rated, high-interest junk bonds extensively to finance films, and they were going bust due to the 1987 stock market crash and poor financial management. To recoup some of the money spent on sets, costumes, and props, Canon and Pyun quickly got a script written for Jean-Claude Van Damme, one of Canon's promising new action stars. That script became Cyborg from 1999, although Pyun had Canon regular Chuck Norris in mind to star. Over the years, some TV listings have it billed as Masters of the Universe 2 Cyborg.
Wow.
So
It's amazing.
we will cover Cyborg later this month in our action-packed August.
It's all Canon Films.
to keep the multiverse alive. I'm just kidding.
That's right. Oh, man.
All right.
And yet, I love it. I mean, we've kind of torn it apart a little bit, but also like it's dumb and fun, and it's He-Man. And my son saw the sword and thought, "Oh, that's a cool power sword." So it's got its pluses, and
rewatching it today, I'm like, I could see it very much geared towards kids.
Yeah,
it's it's PG, it's light on the language, which they kind of wanted. But it's also not a heavy plot. It's pretty simple to follow, and there's a lot of action. I will give it. There's some really good action scenes in it. I think that hold up pretty well even today, even with some of the shortcomings of the budget. But I thought that the action scenes were exciting. They did keep the story moving along, and it's an hour and 45 minutes. It's not a terrible long running movie. So yeah, I wish it would have caught on a little bit better, but once again, I think the potential was there for me something great, and it just didn't meet it.
And you could say all that same stuff about Howard the Duck,
which I think we have.
Yeah,
except Howard the Duck has Cherry Bomb singing some songs like Hunger City. Man, those jamming. I love that.
Yeah. All right, so let's talk about box office and critical reception. Prior to releasing the film, the Canon Group touted Masters of the Universe as the Star Wars of the 1980s, despite releasing alongside
Wait.
Yes.
Is it Return of the Jedi, the Star Wars of the 1980s?
So was Empire Strikes Back. It was 1980.
Empire Strikes Back, yeah.
And so were the Ewoks films.
Yeah.
Made for TV movies, yeah.
Yeah. But I love those too. They're terrible also. But man, they're so good.
I tried to rewatch them on Disney Plus, and I just
it's hard. It's hard. Yeah.
Despite releasing alongside the height of the success of the toy line, animated series, and related merchandise, Masters of the Universe began as the third highest grossing film of the weekend in North America on August 7th, 1987, earning just shy of $5 million behind Stakeout at number 2 and The Living Daylights at number 1. It quickly left the box office charts with a North American gross of just $17.3 million.
Living Daylights, that was Bond, right?
Bond. Yeah, it was Timothy Dalton.
Okay. Timothy Dalton,
yeah. I think Dalton's first time as Bond. So
okay. Okay, I can see that.
Which, by the way, Dolph Lundgren has a cameo in View to a Kill.
Yeah, because he was dating
Grace Jones, right?
Yeah. All right, critical reception. Rotten Tomatoes has it at 20 21% on the tomato meter and a 41% audience score. IMDb 5.4 out of 10 with viewers and a 35 on Metacritic. So tomato meter is actually lower than Metacritic on this one, which is highly irregular.
Wow.
On a scale of 1 to 10, where would you rate it? I'll start with Gerry. I think you'll give us the highest one.
I think for pure nostalgia, like if I was going to do just as a nostalgia piece, I'd give it probably like a 9. I'm going to try to think critically here. It's still fun. Yes, it's dated. There's a lot of terrible things about it, but it's good enough. Like at least you can follow the plot. There's some of those where the plot is just ridiculously wonky, but at least this has like an A to B to C kind of plot. So I'm going to give it like a 7.5.
Okay. What about you, Chris?
Oh my gosh. I want to give it an 8. I want to give it an 8. I want to give it an 8, but it's going to get a 6. It's lucky it didn't get a 5 because they didn't bring Eternia in. But I'm going to go ahead and say because I like He-Man, I'm going to give it a 6.
Okay.
That's all right. I'll give it the 5.
All right.
Yeah. I'll give it the 5.
I'll take it. I thought you were going to go with the 3, so that's I'll take it.
You're always there for us. We appreciate it.
Yeah. No, it's right there because the nostalgia is great about it. It's fun, but it's not a good movie. So it's got to hit right in the middle for me at the 5.
I think I'm leaning more towards 6. I get everybody. I understand everybody's point of view. I agree. It's not one that I want to watch multiple times a year. Sorry, Gerry and Chris.
It's okay.
But,
you guys don't have to, but I will.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So no worries.
Yeah.
Watch it for us.
But like I said, He-Man wasn't. I was a G.I. Joe, Star Wars. Those were my toy lines that I was really like invested in.
Awesome.
Yeah. So I liked He-Man, but it wasn't one that kind of grabbed me as much as other people. So the nostalgia factor isn't as high for me. But it is nice to see, Courtney Cox in a young role, Dolph Lundgren, trying to make his way as an action star. I think he got a little bit better a little bit later in his career. but yeah, it's problematic in a lot of areas. But like I said, the action sequences hold up pretty well. The makeup for some of the characters was really good. So yeah, I'll give it a 6.
Because I had the He-Man toys too. Just like Gerry, I've got my original Castle Grayskull. I've got my Snake Mountain.
Nice.
I've got all my characters. The He-Man I have was the battle scar.
Oh
He-Man,
yeah, I remember those. Yeah.
where he like hit his chest.
Battle armor.
Yeah.
So it rolls around, shows the dents.
It rolls around. Yeah.
Super cool.
Showing a slash. But again, as I stated earlier, I was very young for He-Man. So yeah, it was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was more. That was my toy. I probably have more of those than I do of the He-Man figures.
I had very few He-Man, but I was more of a Transformer G.I. Joe guy.
Yeah. I couldn't afford Transformers. I had GoBots, but I like Transformers.
GoBots too.
Yeah.
I could never figure out Transformers.
Like out of Transformers.
They have their own crazy mythology as well.
Yeah.
If I had a toy, it was like, oh, cool, this car. And then, oh, look, I made it a robot. And it will never be a car ever again.
I was lucky enough for Christmas one year, I got Optimus Prime. And it was amazing. And then I had like a couple of the other smaller ones, but not a lot. I had more GoBots than anything. But I think parents preferred to buy me like GI Joes because they were cheaper. And like you could buy a Transformer, or you could get like 2 or 3 GI Joes.
Exactly.
So, I had so many more GI Joes than Transformers. Yes, but the biggest Transformer I had, I got at Christmas one year, and it was Metroplex.
That's amazing. That's like the USS Flag. I feel.
Oh no! Well, no, there were bigger ones. There were bigger ones in Metroplex actually. There was a Fortress Maximus, I believe, is the one you're thinking.
Oh, maybe that's what I'm thinking of. Yeah, but still, a Metroplex was still pretty huge. Yeah, good stuff.
All right, gentlemen, we wrap this one up. I want to thank you guys so much for being a part of the episode. Very quickly, tell me what's going on with your podcast. So, Larry, we'll start with you. What's going on in August for Moving Panels?
We've got, as always, towards the end of August, we do our yearly really bad movie to end out our year, because our year on Moving Panels does end in August. And so we're doing Jonah Hex this year.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah. God bless you, sir.
Yes. So that's one that and Tim is going to get to join me for that one. And so that
pleasure is not mine.
Yeah. So that one's going to be fun. But I'm also, just to mention this since he's on here as well, Gerry is actually going to join me for a one-shot talking about the 80s and comic book movies and
so
cartoons and all that. So we got that look forward to as well.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. All right, Chris, what you got going on with Retro Life for you? Anything exciting coming up in August?
In August, looking ahead, we've got two. I've got two written down here that I want to get done with in August. And one of them is Hackers, and the other one is Summer School.
Summer School, yeah.
Oh, nice. Chainsaw.
We're actually doing that. When I get done with this one, I'm going to go straight to mine. We're going to do Shoot to Kill.
Oh, yeah.
And that will be in August as well when the release date is. It'll be the one for next Thursday.
Yeah.
So that'll be Shoot to Kill, and then Hackers, and then Summer School. Maybe not in that order, but I mean, that's the next three upcoming I want to get done with.
Very cool. Yeah, we did Summer School back in like season 1 of my podcast. I think, Larry, you were on that with me.
Yep, that was me.
It's a fun movie.
So, yeah, I rewatched it a couple weeks ago. It still has its fun moments.
Yeah, that was me, the teacher, talking about how horrible he is as a teacher. Yeah.
Yeah.
And how he would so be arrested in today's
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even back then, he should have been arrested for a lot of stuff he was doing.
Yeah.
But that was the 80s. All right, Gerry, what you got going on with Totally Rad Christmas in August?
So I got a couple of Christmas adjacent movies, like they're barely anything Christmassy in it, but I just wanted to talk about them. So The Last Starfighter, The Princess Bride is another one. Those will be dropping. Finally, I had to change release order on this one, but finally Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles about a comic is finally dropping along with another Transformers UK comic as well. So they had some comics that were released only in the UK, and they had a couple of Christmas. Well, they had a lot, but we'll be talking about two of them. And so Transformers, Dinosaurs. I don't know if you remember that, but that'll be dropping, and the Santa Bear as well. It's coming up in August. So.
Oh, I remember Santa Bear. Funny enough, I actually just saw a TikTok about Dinosaurs talking about is it time for a remake?
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe. I feel like it should have been like right after Jurassic Park came out or something. Oh, I guess that was too near, but like that was the height of like dinosaurs, right? Why wouldn't Anyway. But yeah, some cool stuff coming up this season as well.
Very cool. Well, thanks again, guys, for being a part. Definitely go check out each one of their podcasts. They're awesome. They have great episodes, great co-hosts. And I'm not just saying that because I'm one of them, but it's always good to reach out and support other podcasts as well. So, all right, folks, that's a wrap on today's episode of the 80s Flick Flashback Podcast. If you had as much fun as we did, drop us an awesome review with a shiny 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts. Don't forget to hit that follow or subscribe button and spread the word to all your fellow 80s flick-loving friends and family. Got questions or just want to chat about your favorite flicks? Connect with us on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Feeling extra cool? Support the show at buymeacoffee.com. Every little bit helps, and even $5 a month makes a big difference. Plus, check out our online store at 80sflickflashback.com and tpublic.com for some killer 80s Flick Flashback gear and original designs. Thanks again, everybody, for tuning in. Thank you guys for joining me. I'm Tim Williams for the 80s Flick Flashback Podcast. Don't say goodbye. Say good journey.
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.